Easiest trick to get into the headspace of an unlikable character or someone who is not your main character? Make them the protagonist of their own story. My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. This comment came in on a video in which I was given some quick and dirty tips on how to get inside a villain's head or an unlikable character's head for a point of view character. And they said the easiest way to do this is to remember that everyone thinks that what they are doing is right. And I agree with this, and this dovetails with a specific set of advice that we often give to people when they are looking at developing secondary characters, and that is that every single character is the protagonist of their own story. It just isn't the story that you happen to be reading right now. This commenter went on to say that nobody sets out to be the most evil person in the world or to be somebody else's antagonist, and yet they wind up that way anyway. And this is true. If you remember that even those antagonists and those obstacles and those villains often are doing things because they believe that they are the right things to do, or they believe that they are necessary and they are the only person willing to do the necessary, hard, difficult, evil thing, thankless, terrible thing, it becomes a lot easier to make them feel very well-rounded and fully fleshed out on the page. Like, your character's best friend doesn't exist to be their best friend. Your character's love interest doesn't exist to be their love interest. They are a whole human being in their own right. I know they're fictional, roll with this here, but they are a whole human being in their own right who has goals and aspirations and ambitions and dreams and things that they like and that they dislike and that they wish would happen and wish wouldn't happen. But if you write them as if they are simply there to fill a spot on the page, or they are there just to come up with quippy lines, that looks like lazy writing on the page, and audiences don't resonate with that anymore. They want characters to feel fully fleshed out and well-rounded, and remembering that every single person is the protagonist of their own story is a really good way to do this. Now, all of these details are not going to make it onto the page. Please, for the love of God, don't put all of those details on the page. I cannot sit through that many words of every secondary character's and tertiary character's backstory, but it should inform the way that they move through the story. So they should react and behave in a way that is consistent. And if you knew their backstory and if you knew where they were coming from, it would all line up and it would all make sense. This is particularly useful if you are writing a large cast of characters and a long series of books, because you're going to have to pull up those secondary and tertiary characters and make them more primary and more significant to the plot later on. And if you have had them behaving in a way that is consistent, when you reveal their backstory and suddenly it goes, oh, this makes sense, rather than, where did this guy come from? You want the, oh, this makes sense feeling. And you can do that by laying the groundwork and making them feel like the protagonist of their own story.